All right, everyone, welcome to week 4. By the end of this week, you'll be halfway through this class already. Isn't that amazing? These classes really do fly by. So this week, we're talking about photography and film. And so the topic that I've come up with, or really the question I want you to have kind of in the back of your mind while you're doing all this reading and considering this material, is what is reality in art? What is reality in general, and what is reality in art? And we're going to talk about this in a discussion board this week. Before we jump into that, though, something that I like to do in my classes is a mid-course evaluation survey. And what this does for me is it helps me to see where we're at as a class, if you're getting enough feedback on assignments, if you're understanding grades, if you're understanding material. It helps me to then, for that second half of the class, make any tweaks that I might need to make in the way I'm handling things or in the way we're interacting. So this is completely anonymous. All you have to do is click on this link and it will take you to this survey. It's only a few questions long. It's actually very, very similar to, if not almost identical, I think, to the survey that you take your course evaluation at the end of the class. So this, again, it helps me to see where we're at. You can give me some feedback on, hey, I'd really like more feedback on these types of assignments, or this is really great, or I'm having trouble understanding this kind of reading, whatever it might be. That way I know where I need to jump in more or to back off more, or whatever it might be, just to support you guys as students better. So please take the time to do that. Again, it's completely anonymous. Okay, our reading for the week, you're just reading in the visual culture text, chapter 8, which is on photography, really interesting chapter. And we actually, this week, we're doing our second create assignment. Way more fun than the mini art encyclopedias. I know that assignment can be a little tedious, but it's an important one. We're going to be doing self-portraits this week. So with this idea of reality, what is reality? So I've included a couple of film clips in here just to help you to support this idea and these concepts, and to give us a medium to talk about within this this discussion, this context of reality. So read chapter 8, and then there's a clip on photographer Jeff Wall, and you just click on this link. And then I'd like you to watch the interview with Cindy Sherman by clicking on this link here. And this is a full episode of a really good show on contemporary art that I've given you here. Now, the interview with Sherman starts at about 15 minutes and 30 seconds, and it ends at about 34 minutes and 50 seconds. Of course, the whole episode is really excellent, and I encourage you to watch it, but you only really need to watch that section where Cindy Sherman is interviewed. And then I want you to answer the following questions. Number 1, what is reality? Is reality interpretive? Also, and this is why I encourage you to watch these videos always, because I give you a little more information, a little more little nuggets, if you will. Separate the term truth and reality. They're not synonymous, right? These are different words with different definitions. And so don't consider them to be the same. And I want you to really think, is reality interpretive? Is the way I view the world here in middle class Nashville, Tennessee, different than the way somebody in Morocco views the world? Is our reality different? Is the way we see the world in a broad sense and in specific senses the same, or is it different? Number 2, do you believe it is the photographer's job to represent reality? Why or why not? Use evidence from the text here to support your opinion. And really consider the idea of physically taking a photograph. That there's a lot of decisions you are making as the image maker that are going to impact the way the viewer is interpreting your image, okay? Number 3, how did Jeff Wall and Cindy Sherman blur the lines of reality in photography? And this is why, of course, you need to watch these clips. So make sure that you comment on at least one of your peers' posts. So something you might ask them is, what do you think of these two photographers' work? You might see something interesting that they've said that you want to comment or discuss further. So remember, participating here is really important. When you go into the discussion board, you'll see that I've done a post called Home of a Rebel Sharpshooter. and you can go ahead and click on this and read about Matthew Brady and Alexander Gardner. This specific image is by Gardner, and this is going to kind of get you guys started on this whole conversation of reality and photography, because this image is actually posed, right? So it's still a corpse of a soldier, but it's been manipulated a little bit. So that's where we want to start to think about reality and photography. Okay, let's go back into our learning activity. So moving on to our create assignment, we are doing self-portraits. In this assignment, you will use a camera to create 3 self-portraits. You may use anything from a film camera to a high-resolution camera phone. Each image will be accompanied by 3 reflections. These reflections don't need to be long, but I'm looking about 2 to 4 sentences per question. Make sure you're really thinking about the answer, that you're considering the why. These must be images you take for this assignment. Last summer's vacation photos are not acceptable, okay? I want you to take these pictures with intention. Be creative. Put in some effort here. Don't just snap a selfie and call it a day, right? We live in that very quick consumption of image culture, and we just take them quickly. This is about being a little intentional and thinking these through a little bit. I by no means expect you to be professional photographers, and I say this here at the bottom. I've given you an example. But I expect you to put some time and thought into your portraits. Be sure images are clear unless you've intentionally blurred them, such as the example that I've given above. Be creative. Take pride in your work. I can tell the difference between a well thought out portrait and, again, a quick selfie. So what you're going to do is give me 3 self-portraits. The first one is called Honesty. And the idea here is to be as honest as possible. And this is going to be hard because you're still going to realize that you're interpreting this image. It might be a good idea to do this project before you do your discussion board. So set up a simple background. Photograph yourself as honestly and straightforward as possible. You might choose to do the portrait in black and white. You might smile. You might have a straight face. And then answer the following questions. What makes this portrait an honest representation of who you are? How did the portrait make you feel? Did it empower you? Did it make you feel vulnerable? Consider why this is. Usually in this one, people tend to feel a bit vulnerable. How might this portrait be an example of the concept the camera never lies? And you might consider that, maybe the camera does lie. Maybe you don't agree with this statement. So let's just explore that. Portrait number 2 is the opposite of this honest one. It's expressive. So the idea here is to represent your unique personality. You're really interpreting how you want the viewer to understand you here. You might put on a costume or photograph yourself in your favorite place or during your favorite hobby. The point of this portrait is to creatively represent yourself. So these are your questions here. What are you trying to express about yourself in this portrait? How does this one make you feel? Why? Make sure you're considering that why. How might this portrait be an example of the reality versus imagination debate that we see in the textbook and this whole concept of what is reality? And number 3, objects. So the idea here is you're going to represent your essence without actually being this being a picture of your face. So you might photograph your hands during some activity or compile your favorite objects together as a still life. The point here, create a more abstract representation of yourself that still captures who you are. Again, what are you trying to express here in this portrait? How does this make you feel? And what might this portrait, how might this portrait be an example of the saying, a picture is worth 1,000 words? So really in that third question on each, I want you to dig and explore and consider. So this is done as a blog entry. It's important that you embed each of your portraits into the blog entry. Don't submit attachments. We want it to just be one fluid page. If you're having trouble embedding images, just hit me up and I'll help walk you through it. So simply use the text editor for your written responses and be sure to label each image clearly. So this is how I'd like you to format it. For example, portrait 2, expressive. This is a picture of me. We're driving down the highway. We have a 1988 BMW convertible. It has no radio. The odometer and speedometer are broken. It needs a lot of work. But this is how I feel when I'm riding this car. I'm trying to portray the idea of freedom and calmness and being happy and fulfilled in the simple things in life, right? Okay, so that's in a nutshell what I'm trying to express. So then format it this way: your 3 questions and move on to your next one. Any questions about this assignment, don't hesitate to ask me. Okay, so that's kind of our fun end of the spectrum. You have your theory application paper, which hopefully you've pretty much written it at this point. I will be looking at your outlines over the next couple days. I plan to get them back to you by Wednesday at the latest to have all of them done and back. So if you don't have yours back by then, I don't see it being a problem. We're a small class, so I should be able to get through all of them. I give a lot of feedback on these. So that's why you still have several assignments. You still have your discussion board, you have a create project, and you've got your paper. But guess what? There's no quiz this week. So those are your 3 assignments due: your paper, your discussion board, and your self-portraits. So again, this is a 6 to 8 page paper. You should be very familiar with this prompt by now. You've been working with this a lot. So really dig into Panofsky and Fry here. The bulk of your paper really should be about that analysis. Don't spend a lot of time on biography of Panofsky and Fry or on the artists. Dig. Consider how and why. If you're reading through your paper and you're noticing that there are places where you could ask why and you're not answering that, then go back and tweak that section. Make sure you're really considering that. Go back over the writing styles presentation where I talk about developing interesting writing by considering the how and why. Okay, just a few technical things to remember. So your formatting guidelines here, MLA or APA, remember, pick one, stick with it. Include your 2 chosen images embedded into your paper with captions that include proper citations, please. You should have this down by now. Your images can be anywhere in your paper. They can be, in the body of your text. They can be in an image supplement at the end. It doesn't matter to me as long as they're there and they're labeled clearly. Research, minimum of 3 different sources. One can be your textbook, cited appropriately in a works cited section at the end of your paper. Also, citations within the body of your text where appropriate. If you paraphrase, if you quote, or use research from any source, including our textbook, be sure to give an in-text citation for that information. These can be as simple as author's name followed by page number. Just make sure that you're going back to your MLA or APA guide, and they should tell you how to do in-text citations. Just when in doubt, put an in-text citation in there. Remember, we always want to give credit where credit is due. No first-person narrative voice. It's not appropriate for formal papers, so no I, me, my. We're not writing based on our opinion. We're writing based on analysis. Doesn't mean we can't put our thoughts in there. Of course, we're going to be doing that. But just in our writing style, we're not going to rely on our own interpretation and opinion. We're going to rely on data, right? Be sure to proofread. If you feel that your writing needs further assistance, you can send your paper through tutoring online, and you can find that here in the sidebar. If you go, there it is, tutoring online, you can click that link and then follow the prompt. And if you decide to send your paper through this, I will grant extensions if you've let me know what, and then send me the information of what they've said. Because I know that you don't always know how quickly they're going to get back to you. Okay, this announcement's been long enough. Questions about the paper, let me know. Questions about your self-portraits, let me know. Have fun. This is an interesting discussion board to have. Some really cool ideas come out of it. I've already graded your journals from last week, so look at those and look at the feedback I've given you. Some really interesting ideas on Mulvey and Bergère in there, so pat yourself on the back and have a fantastic week.